Hey, hi everybody. I am Manik and from our channel Literature Study at Home. I welcome you for the discussion of MCQs from English literature. Today our focus will be on the unit literary theory. We will focus our MCQs from literary theory. Your first question says, which thinker critiqued binary thinking? As you know, binary thinking is a primary thing of structuralism. If you have seen the options, I think you can clearly say that it is obviously Jacques Derrida. Why? Because Jacques Derrida is the philosopher who critiqued binary thinking and introduced deconstruction in the year around 1960s. You know, Derrida challenged these rigid binary oppositions that structured very firmly in the Western thought. Just like good, on the contrary, we have evil. Male, on the contrary, we have female. So he just challenged this in his works and famous work that is known as grammatology. Sorry, of grammatology. Okay, of grammatology that was published in 1967. I hope this question is clear. Now, your second question, Claude Lévi-Strauss discuss bricoleur in which text? The concept of bricoleur is a famous concept of Claude Lévi-Strauss, and in 1962 he talked about this in The Savage Mind. I don't think you have concrete idea of it, but if you have, then I will say pretty fine. So in The Savage Mind he discussed bricoleur. Do you know what is bricoleur? Bricoleur is a type of problem, is a type of problem solver, rather problem solver using available materials. So you are solving is a problem solver, okay, with the help of with the help of what I can say, that is available material. Okay, available materials, that is called bricoleur. So he discussed about this in the Savage of Mind, where he talked about the engineer and he talked about them that they are the a rational planner. So bricoleur is a pretty handsome concept of Claude Lévi-Strauss, and it was discussed in the Savage of Mind. Now, which is an example of formulaic literature? So here, if you have seen the options, if you have the idea of formulaic literature, I think you can pretty much sure about the options. Now I am citing the feature of formulaic literature. You often see in formulaic literature repeated themes, structures, narrative devices, just like the journey of the hero, and fixed epithets like if I may mention such things, that's like the shield of Achilles, swift-footed Achilles. So these are the kind of repeated things. So these kind of repetition, this kind of what can I say, that is fixed epithets are found occasionally in epic, but you can't see in Dante's the Divine Comedy. That you can see in Homer's Odyssey, Iliad. So that's why formulaic literature is very much noticeable in Homer's Odyssey. Now come to question number 4. New historicism emphasizes what? As you know, new historicism is a kind of literary theory that was very much populated or developed by Stephen, I think you know the very well, Stephen Greenwald, isn't it? Am I sure? So Stephen Greenwald was the man who was the proponent, who was the developer of this concept in around 1980s. So he challenges. So with the historicism, you know, we deal literature with historical context. So he talked about that. The importance of understanding literature is necessary within its historical context. Without historical context, there is nothing very much significant, interesting. Got it? So that's why option B is the right answer. Now, Terry Eagleton is associated with what? This is, I think, a very easy question. As you know, he is one of the cultural materialistic. So, Eagleton is a prominent, by far, we can say, Marxist. So, he was a Marxist actually first and foremost, and he was closely associated with the cultural materialism. As you know, cultural materialism is a kind of theory focusing on how literature reflects and shapes material conditions, on material conditions, power, and ideology. So, just think about the writer and also the concept. Now, next, question number 6. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is related to what? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The first of all, this is a kind of concept which you occasionally found in linguistic, isn't it? So this is a concept from linguistic, and in linguistic, you know, this concept was proposed by Edward Sapir. That's why it is mentioned a Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So, as Sapir-Whorf, Edward Sapir and his colleague Benjamin Lee Whorf, the both in the early 20th century, they suggest that language shapes our thoughts. This is very innovative thing. They discuss that language is the thing that is shaping our thoughts and perception of our reality. So here, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis suggests that we should that our language is about hypothesis is about our language and also about our thought. There are other options which is irrelevant in this context. So Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is very famous. I think it is important to for your upcoming examination. Now, question number 7, thick description. This concept was introduced by whom? So as you know, thick description is a kind of, literary contextual analysis where a detailed account of social actions within their cultural context, and it emphasizes the understanding of behavior, considering the cultural meanings, everything of it. So thick description is about the cultural things. So it comes from cultural theory. So it was propounded by Clifford Geertz. As you know, Clifford Geertz in 1973, he published a work that is named as The Interpretation of Culture. So here in Interpretation of Culture, got it? Interpretation of Cultures. In this book, he talked about this thick description. Now, structure of feeling. Question number 8 describes what? Structure of feelings. This is a primary concept if you go for the reading of cultural studies, and whenever you go for the reading of Raymond Williams, the structure of feelings is obviously there. So it was Raymond Williams in his The Long Revolution, a book that was published around 1961. He introduced this very concept, structure of feelings. So what is it? What does it describe? So it describes the shared emotional and cultural experiences of a particular group of society. So I think it is clear. So here he talks about the atmospheric thing of that is cultural atmosphere. So he talked about the shared emotional and cultural experiences of a particular group. So that's why cultural atmosphere should be the proper option of it. Now, carnival, as analyzed by Bakhtin, involves what? So, as you know, carnival means the role of reversal and subversion. As you know, carnival, this concept was introduced by Bakhtin in his famous book, Rebellious and its World. in 1965. I hope it is clear to you all. Okay, so here he refers to a social and literary phenomena where established hierarchies and the norms of it are temporarily overturned. That means just like in a festival, the local shopkeeper is giving the shops and selling things, and people are coming. They are the rich people, the socially higher people. They come and buy things, and they act, they participate in a similar way. So here the the structure is overturned. So here it gives allow or freedom of expression and the subversion of authority. So this is kind of kind of a state where everything or everyone can mix up. Got it? So role reversal and subversion is the right answer. Now come to question number 10. Bakhtin's chronotype. What does the concept chronotype mean to us? So chronotype deals with what the intersection of time and space. I discussed time and again the concept of chronotype in special few rather two concepts rather that is called topos. I mentioned topos mean or topos I talked about for space, and chronos I talked about, and that is for time. Okay, so time and space. From word chronos come time, and from topos top come space. Got it? So here the answer is pretty much easier, I think. Now come to question number 11. A character zone include. A character zone. This is a fine literary concept. It refers to kind of space in which a character's psychological, social, and physical context are very much thought about. So that's why your character zone mean not only the physical character, rather psychological, social, or physical context. Option B is the correct answer. Now, assimilation in literature explores what? As you know, this concept of assimilation in literature often addresses themes of what? Cultural identity. Okay, so here particularly in works in literature we found that they are dealing with imagination, colonialism, multiculturalism, so much things. So that's why your assimilation should go for cultural adoption and identity blending. Got it? Now, a key example of assimilation is portrayed in which of the text? This is I think this is obviously an important one. So in which text you find such assimilation I discussed earlier in the question number 12. So here, if you try to find out the theme of the text, the Joy Luck Club, this work was published in 1989 by Amy Tan. Okay, so in this work we found the assimilation, and it is explored through the experience of Chinese American women who navigate the blending of their Chinese heritage with the American culture. So they are trying to adopt the American culture. The Joy Luck Club is a very prominent example of it. If you have gone through other texts, Pride and Prejudice, you can't see in Crime and Punishment, you can't see such thing even in the Iliad too. Now, next question. Centripetal forces in literature. Found in what? So, centripetal forces in literature mean what? First of all, you need to understand what is centripetal forces. Centripetal forces mean the things that like the characters, center, that is related to center, characters, ideas, and themes. A central unity, they form a kind of unified thing. So it's a kind of opposite thing of centrifugal forces. As you know, centrifugal forces are pushing elements in part, apart. They make apart. Rather, centripetal are connecting. They're the connector, and centrifugal are the participator. So that's why centripetal forces in literature emphasizes unity and centrality. Got it? Now, which work uses the carnivalesque tradition? So, which work uses the tradition of carnivalesque? I think you have seen all the text. I think you have read also. So if you have gone through Midnight Children, you will find this kind of feeling. Okay, in Midnight Children, it utilizes the carnivalesque tradition. They are in this novel. It features moments of role reversal, subversion of authority, and also the blending of reality and fantasy, which is very much related to the carnivalesque tradition. Okay, now come to question number 16. Raymond Williams' key text is what? So here we have the text, and I think it is pretty much easier for you. As you know, Raymond Williams is famous for his Marxism and Literature, and which was published in 1977. And as you know, this very text is a kind of foundational text in cultural criticism. So Marxism and Literature is the answer here, question number 16. Now, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, I discussed a little earlier. So is an example of what? Obviously, it is an example of linguistic relativity. So I just, try to judge your memory, how far you have carried our concepts. I think those who have understood the concept really well, they answered it pretty finely. Now, carnival is characterized by what? Carnival, I have already discussed, this is a concept of Bakhtinian. So Bakhtin's concept of carnival, it's marked by already discussed subversive elements, isn't it? Such as laughter, chaos, temporary intervention of social order. That means we are dismantling this. So here it provides a kind of space for freedom. Here we do not maintain the hierarchy. We accept, we always ask for creativity and overturning the establishing norms, isn't it? So your answer, laughter and chaos, will be the right answer. Now, chronotype, what does it mean? Rather, what does it connect? So chronotype connect what? The narrative, time and space. Once again, I have just remolded the question for the better understanding of it. Now, contiguity in literature emphasizes what? Contiguity, it is about the proximity of elements, especially themes, images, etc. So that's why it is talking about the nearness of elements in space or time. Now, which author uses contiguity in a stream of consciousness narrative? This is pretty much, I think, important one. You can, assuredly take for this question. So, which author uses contiguity in a stream of consciousness narrative? Who? It is James Joyce in his Ulysses, published in 1922. It employs a stream of consciousness technique that reflects contiguity, where disparate thoughts and events are presented in a continuous flow, isn't it? Now, question number 22. Crowning, another important concept. Crowning and decrowning are symbolic of what? As you know, crowning and symbolic, decrowning, they symbolize what? The rise and fall of power, or the authority, often in the context of obviously leadership, as we have found in the play of William Shakespeare, especially in Macbeth. Okay, so in Macbeth, we can see that how he was desperate to ascend the throne, and similarly, how he has fallen from the status of the king to a murderer. This is very much easier to see. So that's why crowning and decrowning are symbolic of changes in status or authority. Now, the rise and fall of which Shakespearean character illustrates crowning and Dethroning. I think this is an easier, isn't it? I just discussed little earlier in the previous question. So it is Macbeth. Now George Orwell's Animal Farm portrays crowning through with which scenery. Now you have to understand it and you have to answer it. The Rise of Snowball, the Napoleon's elevation to power, the abolition of hierarchies. Option C, Boxer's loyalty. Obviously, when the hierarchies was destroyed. So your answer should go for, obviously, is it the right thing? No. Obviously, Napoleon's elevation to power. I just want to explain it. So as you know, Napoleon's rise to power, and simultaneously he was fallen from there. He has eventual coronation as the supreme leader, and it exemplifies the process of crowning and also dethroning. So which Orwell uses as a technique to critique totalitarian regimes and the corruption of power. So here your option should be not option C, the abolition of hierarchy, rather Napoleon's elevation to power and also his fall. Got it? Now, question number 25. Dialogic narrative technique focuses on what? Dialogic narrative technique focuses on, obviously, multiple interacting perspectives. As you know, this is a concept by Mikhail Bakhtin. So Bakhtin talked about this, that when dialogic involves the interaction of multiple voices, multiple perspectives, multiple narratives within a text. Got it? Now, question number 26. Mikhail Bakhtin associates dialogism with whom? And I think this year a question is also from dialogism, though it was from Indian context. Otherwise, it will be Fyodor Dostoevsky. Got it? Now, question number 27. Mrs. Dalloway is an example of what? Monologic narrative, dialogic narrative, formulaic literature, or your option D, deconstruction. Obviously, it is a kind of dialogic narrative. How is it possible? Actually, Mrs. Dalloway uses dialogic narrative structure, and she presents, that in Virginia Woolf, presents multiple perspectives and inner monologues that interact to create a multifaceted understanding of the events which actually happened in a single day, isn't it? Now, question number 28. Foucault's concept of discourse. As you know, discourse is a concept of Foucault. So it explores what? As you know, Michel Foucault, in his text, The Archaeology of Knowledge, Archaeology of Knowledge. You know this work? I hope this work is known to you. 1969. So in this work, he examines how discourse shapes, and it's shaped by power dynamics, exploring how slavery is represented and internalized within society, and we are following it too. Okay, so your option is obviously systems of knowledge and power. So discourse is there where knowledge and power assimilates by hands. Now, question number 29. Which novel examines the discourse of slavery? I hope this is an easier one. Toni Morrison's all the novels are about the people who are the suppressed one, the tortured people. But this novel is a kind of discourse of slavery, and that is called Beloved by Toni Morrison. The character said, the character Beloved, how heart-wrenching the story. The mother is forced to kill her daughter. She killed her 2-year baby Beloved in the story to save her daughter from the slavery. Got it? Now, question number 30. The dominant ideology in Orientalism is shaped by what? The dominant ideology, as you know, that was discussed by Edward Said in his text Orientalism very finely. So he examines how the West has constructed the Orient. This Orient is nothing but the other, the, what can I say, the degraded one. They, with this, try to create a power dynamic in which the East is portrayed as the exotic one, backwarded one, subordinate one to the West, isn't it? So your option B, Western representation of East as the degraded one, backwarded one. Now, question number 31. Margaret Atwood critiques patriarchal dominance in which of the text? As you know, his Handmaid's Tale, with the story of a lady named Offred, he, she discusses this very concept of patriarchal dominance, the guillotine era it showed with this text, the Handmaid's Tale. Got it? Now come to question number 32. Enthymeme is a rhetorical device. This enthymeme is discussed by whom? First of all, you need to understand the concept of enthymeme, but before that, you need to know who was the man to use it. Actually, it was Aristotle. Okay, your option is Aristotle. So he introduced the concept of enthymeme in rhetoric, and this is as a form of syllogism. Okay, where one premise is implied rather than stated explicitly. So it is commonly used in persuasive speech and especially in literature. I hope it is clear to you. Now, exotopy. Exotopy involves what? First of all, you need to understand what is exotopy. Exotopy means the representation of foreign or unfamiliar elements in literature. Was it? So it is often used in colonial or post-colonial context to highlight the cultural differences or the experiences of others. So I hope it is clear. So this exotopy involves depiction of foreign or unfamiliar elements within a culture, within a text. Now, which novel reflects exotopy in colonial context? I think this is easier. In Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, we have seen this exotopy through its depiction of the African Congo as a mysterious and other place. He showed exploring the themes of imperialism and colonial exploitation. Now, next concept, another important concept, heterobiography is a biography written by whom? So, heterobiography, you need to understand this concept very well, that heterobiography is a biography written by someone who is not the subject of the biography. That means it offers an external perspective on the subject's life. I hope it is clear. So it is an outsider to the subject's life. Now, question number 36. Richard Ellman's biography focuses on what? Or rather, whom? Samuel Beckett, Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, T.S. Eliot. So it's a factual question, so I can assuredly say that very few have the idea of it. It is obviously James Joyce. As you know, Richard Ellman is best known for his biography of James Joyce, and he published it around in 1959. Now, next concept, heteroglossia. So this term was introduced by whom? I think many of you have already answered. It is obviously by Mikhail Bakhtin. He introduced this concept of heteroglossia in his book, The Dialogic Imagination. Got it? The Dialogic Imagination that was published around 19, probably I can say 1970 or 75. Yeah. Now, a novel exemplifying heteroglossia. So now you have to answer which novel talks about the concept of heteroglossia. So to answer this question, I know you need to know what is heteroglossia. As you know, Heteroglossia means it's a kind of text which feature a range of voices, range of style, range of or other multiplicity of perspective or experiences, isn't it? So here I have discussed little earlier. It is in Ulysses we have found such thing. Okay. Now come to question number 39. Horizon in hermeneutics. Okay. So horizon in hermeneutics refers what? Horizon, first of all, come to know what is hermeneutics. Hermeneutics, in particular, particularly we have found with the concepts of Hans Georg Gadamer. You know this man? Hans Georg Gadamer, he talks about the horizon, isn't it? So horizon means to the limits of an individual's understanding or perspective. And this understanding, this perspective are shaped by what? Culture, history, and the context you are living. So that's why it is about a world view, sorry, or perspective. Now, Hans Georg Gadamer discuss horizon in which text? I think you need to know this. Hope this series of MCQs is are helping you in certain way. We hope so. And for your kind consideration, if you want to know, we are also uh, launching notes from each unit with MCQs and discussion. If you are interested to buy it, you can contact with the number which I have given right over there, 8617018252. So we have launched this from each unit too. Okay, so here the question comes to the question. Hans Georg Gadamer discusses horizon in which text? So he discussed about this in Truth and Method, and that was published in 1960. Now, next question, hybridization, or rather hybridization in literature involves what? As you know, this is simple. The mixing of distinct elements. So here mixing of distinct elements mean cultural, narrative, or any other form that to make certain kind of a combination. So hybridization maybe with the language, maybe with the culture, maybe with anything. Okay, now come to the next question, 42. Gloria Angeldua's exploration of hybridity is found in which text? Gloria Angeldua, as you know, is a famous man who published La Florentera, okay, or Borderlands in 1987. So here in this book, he explores the concept of hybridity, and he focuses much on cultural blending experienced by uh, Chicana women. Now, next question, very important concept, that is orchestration. Orchestration in literature focuses on what? Orchestration in literature mean what? First of all, it refers to the arrangement of various elements. It may be themes, characters, symbols. All these things they organize in a harmonious or purposeful way. So by this, they create a unified effect or meaning in a work. So here orchestration mean your option C, harmonious arrangement of elements. Now, question number 44. Polyphonic literature emphasizes what? I have discussed little earlier, though in other term or other concept. Dialogism, isn't it? Polyphonic in literature, as this concept also described by Bakhtin too. Okay, so Bakhtin involves the interaction of multiple voices, multiple perspectives, multiple worldviews with against the monologic narratives. Got it? So your answer is obviously multiple voices and perspectives. Now, you need to answer which novel is polyphonic. I think you can answer it clearly because I have mentioned Dostoevsky is the leader of it. So Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky is a finest example of polyphonic. So I have shared with you today 45 most important MCQs from English literature, and especially from the unit of literary theory. Hope it was helpful or it is helpful. So if it is helpful, do comment or do also share your views or your suggestion, okay, for our better enhancement or rather for our better approach to literature. We can also bring other topics too if you also suggest. So thank you and have a great time for your examination ahead.